Now, this is only the third time leaders of South Korea and the DPRK will have met. Let's take a look back at previous inter-Korean summits and how they impacted on relations between the two nations.
The first two summits were held in 2000 and 2007. The first was held in 2000 from June the 13th to 15th in Pyongyang. Kim Dae-jung, then President of the Republic of Korea, arrived at Pyongyang Sunam International Airport when he was greeted by then DPRK leader Kim Jong-il and a military honor guard. On the last day of the talks, the two leaders issued the June 15th joint declaration. 2 months later, in August, after more than 50 years of separation, some members of the separated families in the north and south were finally able to briefly meet again in Pyongyang and Seoul. Kim Dae-jung received a Nobel Peace Prize in 2000 for his efforts to bring peace to the peninsula. The second summit was held in 2007 from October the 2nd to the 4th, also in Pyongyang, between Kim Jong-il and Roh Moo-hyun, Kim Dae-jung's successor. This summit came a year after the DPRK's first nuclear test. On October the 2nd, 2007, Roh Moo-hyun walked across the Korean demilitarized zone on his way to Pyongyang for talks with Kim Jong-il. On October the 4th, the two signed a peace declaration. The document called for international talks to replace the armistice, which ended fighting in the Korean War, with a permanent peace treaty. The two countries also reaffirmed the spirit of the June 15th DPRK-ROK joint declaration and discussed ways to improve inter-Korean relations, seek peace on the peninsula, provide common prosperity of the Korean people, and unify the divided peninsula.
Well, let's get to you more now on today's historic meeting. Our correspondent Jack Barton is at the Peace Park. That's close to where the talks took place. Jack, indeed, a historic meeting with an extraordinary outcome, a declaration to end the war on the Korean Peninsula. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, a declaration to end the war. It's still a little time before that will happen, but clearly the momentum is now to finally create a peace treaty that will end the war. There was only really an armistice in 1953, essentially a ceasefire or a truce. And the Korean Peninsula has been living in that limbo ever since. And every time it's flashed back up into a hot war again, like back in 2010 when a South Korean naval ship was sunk, 46 sailors lost their lives. Altogether, hundreds of people have died since hostilities theoretically came to an end. So that would be a big step forward. According to that document, that would either be a trilateral agreement between North Korea, South Korea and the United States, or involving 4 parties, bringing China on board as well. Of course, just one of many issues in that declaration, the big one being the commitment to denuclearization.
Really is extraordinary what has been declared today in that statement, of course. But is there a sense that this meeting and any future ones could indeed lead to lasting peace on the Korean Peninsula, or is there need to be somewhat cautiously optimistic?
Cautiously optimistic for sure. That's the way everybody has been here. The majority of South Koreans supporting President Moon's efforts, but polls also showing that the majority of Koreans fairly skeptical about the outcomes as well. They've seen what has happened before, but no one could really have predicted the incredible mood we've seen here today. In fact, over the past few months, including during the Olympics, the sights of Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in stepping over the demarcation line, then back again, going off for a half-an-hour chat on their own without anybody, any security around them. Sort of lots of little unscripted moments, lots of jokes, apparently Kim Jong-un telling lots of jokes. This is important because it's got to be this personal chemistry that will drive forward this agreement. It can't just be a matter of words. There has to be trust and a rapport between the parties. And of course, it's going to be determined a lot whether there will be this kind of rapport when Kim Jong-un meets with US President Donald Trump. All 3 of these leaders have the kind of personalities where they can get a deal done if they personally want to do it. So yeah, it's still cautious optimism, but less caution than there was even yesterday.
I mean, indeed, this is about undoing decades of hostilities. And if they really do want to achieve peace, prosperity and unification, what happens next is key.
Yeah, absolutely. What happens next will be Moon Jae-in will head home after the dinner this evening and speak with President Trump on the phone. Then hopefully that summit will be organized with President Trump and Kim Jong-un either at the end of May or early June, and at that point we're really expecting some sort of a deal to emerge. What we've really got here is a principled agreement towards denuclearization, but no details, no time frame. That's expected to really emerge when the expected meeting with Donald Trump hopefully takes place. So that's really the next stage. Then, you know, other steps down the track, like the dismantling of the demilitarized zone. You might still be able to see the barbed wire and the watchtowers behind me. In the years ahead, I mean, they're even talking about in the declaration dismantling all of that. That's still a bit of a dream, but again, more optimism emerging that this may one day happen.
Indeed, very significant steps. And of course, as they've said, a new era for the Korean Peninsula. Thanks very much, Jack Barton, joining us there from the Peace Park.